Good afternoon, you lovely, lovely people. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to the 11th Doodle Chat of 2026. In this series, I just kind of talk about random stuff off the cuff, but I do have a list here of things I'm going through because not too many people recommend things for me to actually just randomly talk about. So, as I mentioned in my video from last week, the procrastination one, that this week I would definitely be able to talk more about this one because last week it was a pretty short video, all things considered. But the topic for today is underrated movies that I think deserve sequels. There's a lot of these, but I had to kind of narrow this down just so my thoughts aren't going like all over the place. So I'm going to start with what I consider to be a guilty pleasure of mine, and probably isn't one of some people's favorite movies, but Doom from 2005 with The Rock and Carl Urban. That movie is like perfect late night, I'm not going to say schlock, but it's like a perfect late night action sci-fi horror movie. I think the reason people didn't like this Doom movie all that much is honestly because of the title. Now, admittedly, comparing the games to the movie, they are drastically different. The only thing I can see is that the Doom movie is a lot like Doom 3, which, oddly enough, was actually my first Doom experience. And I played it way, way, way too young. Because Doom 3, unlike the other Doom games, Doom 3 is a very much a horror-focused Doom game. It's very atmospheric. It's definitely not as fast-paced. It's pretty creepy. It's creepy. It's scary. And to an 11-year-old me, who somehow convinced my parents, like, yeah, it's just like an alien monster thing on the front. I'll be perfectly fine. That was like the scariest fucking thing ever. Like, oh man. In the original Xbox version, I don't remember if in the BFG edition for the 360 it's the same thing, but you could you more or less pause the game by bringing up your PDA to like read background info on like data slates and stuff you find. But also in the original version, you had to choose between a gun or a flashlight, where I definitely remember in the BFG version, you could have like a gun with like a built-in flashlight, basically. Like you didn't have to pick either or. But the original Doom 3, it was either light or shooting. So it was so frigging scary that I would take like a few steps, you'd hear the scary noises down the hall, bring up my PDA just to pause it. It scared me so much. And getting back to the movie, not that the movie was very scary, because I think by the time I watched the movie, I was plenty well jaded on horror stuff. But there is one scene in particular in the Doom movie that I think is really, really creepy, and I love it. It's when the one guy, Goat, is in the sewers when they're chasing these monsters, which, I mean, they kind of look like imps, or some of them even look like Hell Knights, but they're not. They're like actually mutant people. They're not demons from the games. It's a whole deviation from the Doom lore, to be perfectly honest. But the team's chasing this one mutant that they find down into the sewers on this Martian facility, because it still takes place on Mars. That all is very similar. I might even get into similarities between the actual games and the movie. But while down here, there's this religious guy, Goat, who he's sloshing through the water. It's going like real slow. It's a real like slightly tense scene. And then he's looking into the darkness, and looking back at him, these two white eyes appear. Like they're very, very white with the pupils. They look superhuman. They're just like staring at him from the darkness. And he gives pause because this is like creepy as shit. And then all of a sudden, all these other eyes appear above this pair of regular human eyes, and he gets jumped by this mutant. It's a fairly quick scene. I think it's like 20 seconds maybe, which is actually pretty long for a scene, like the creep factor. But seeing the eyes is a lot shorter. But just seeing the eyes in the dark staring at this guy, and then all the other eyes appear, that is such a chilling scene that even just talking about it, I love it. I love it so much. It is absolutely not a movie that is like in the upper echelons of horror history. It's a pretty okay sci-fi action movie. Some of the characters are pretty fun. I actually got to meet the the guy who gets killed in the toilet. Like, he plays an evil guy in, like, everything you see. He was in Barbarian. He was in some killer clown movie. He was in The Mandalorian. He was that douchey Imperial officer that Bill Burr kills. Man, I forget his name. But I got to meet him at a Comic-Con-esque thing, but, like, for horror movies and all that. And it was pretty neat, being able to meet someone from one of my guilty pleasure movies. It was pretty neat. His kill's pretty fun. He gets, like, pulled upside down inside a bathroom stall and gets, like, shaken around by what is essentially a Hell Knight and gets pulled through the ceiling and just absolutely murdered. It's you don't see it, but you can only imagine. It's pretty violent. Getting back to why this movie deserves a sequel, it was an acceptable sci-fi action movie. It was passable horror at times. The story was okay. The science of the story is absolute dog shit. So if you're going in there for science, like, I mean, I do enjoy science quite a bit. But if you're going in for that movie for the science portion of it, you will be heavily disappointed. But the reason I really think it deserves a sequel is because of the ambiguity of the ending, where it's a 2005 movie. If you haven't seen it, spoilers, I guess. Carl Urban and The Rock are the last two guys alive, but The Rock gets, like, infected by this extra chromosome thingy, which, no, it does not give him Down syndrome. It makes him, like, into, like, he's, like, starting to turn into one of these mutant monster things, but he's still very much in his human form at this point. And Carl Urban also got this thing, but since, it sounds super stupid, since he's, like, a good guy and The Rock's, like, a dick, it affects them differently. So Carl Urban's, like, sort of super soldiery. He's, I'd say he's still below the level of the Doom Marine, like, not before he becomes the Slayer, like when he's just the Marine from the first two games. He's pretty much on par with him, I guess, maybe a little lesser. But they have a big fight. Carl Urban kills The Rock with a big cluster of grenades going through a portal back to Mars. But the portal on the Earth side in this underground facility, everyone's still dead there. Like, the demons and... not demons. The mutants and stuff got through. They killed everybody. And the only people left are Carl Urban and his sister character, played by... she's the blondie chick from Pride and Prejudice. I know her name. It's not coming to me. But you think she's dead, but she's not. He picks her up. He carries her to the elevator. And the movie ends with them going to an elevator to the surface. Now, the reason it deserves a sequel in my mind is what happens after that. Like, I can't tell if it's implied the demons got out. I'm just going to say demons. They're not demons, but I'm going to keep saying demons. It's implied the demons got out of this facility because there aren't... The Rock does go through and he kills everything in the facility, including the civilians who are still alive. So everyone in this facility is dead. But I can't tell if it's implied the demons got out, like through this elevator, through some other means. So I was really curious if, granted, this movie, like I said, was basically Doom 3 in style. I was wondering if Carl Urban getting to the surface would end up being like Doom 2 or even Doom Eternal, where the demons are on Earth then. And then he becomes like Doom Guy. He becomes the Slayer. Like, he goes up there and he just starts kicking all this demon ass. I think that would be super, super cool. And I would really love to see it, except it sucks because Carl Urban's, I mean, he's obviously 20 years older, and I think 21 years older now. So he wouldn't have like the physicality or the youth, and it wouldn't make sense from like a direct sequel perspective to see him rapidly age, like over the course of going up this elevator to the surface. It would be pretty funny and pretty stupid. But I would really like to see, I would at least like an answer. Did the demons get out? And if they did and they're ravaging the Earth, is Carl Urban going to be able to stop them? I think that would be just an awesome follow-up to this movie. And I know there's movies who have had sequels like 15 years down the line, like The Incredibles 2. They literally run right into each other, like story-wise, but it was a decade and a half gap. And fucking Avatar, however long that is, friggin' Mary Poppins had a sequel. It was Mary Poppins Returns with Emily Blunt. Like, if you can have sequels that are decades down the line, you could do this one. You could do that. We need, like, a low-budget studio. I'm not talking Blumhouse, but, like, somebody else. A little low-budget studio to just do a decent Doom 2005 sequel. Now, you may be saying, well, what about Doom Annihilation? First off, Doom Annihilation is actually a piece of shit movie. It is not the campy fun of Doom 2005. It's not as cool as 2005. It's just inferior in literally every way, except they have actual demons and actual imps. But everything else sucks ass. It's not a real movie. I don't count it. It is not a sequel because it also doesn't even follow like what happened in the first movie. It's literally just another, air quotes, Doom movie. So fuck that movie. That does not count. Now, oddly enough, moving on to another Karl Urban starring movie, we have Dredd from 2012. I know there was the original Sylvester Stallone Dredd back in, the 90s? I've not seen it, to be perfectly honest. But the 2012 Dredd movie with Karl Urban was such a grimy, grungy, kick-ass sci-fi action movie that I am astounded it did not get a sequel. Like, it was CGI heavy at points, like the big, like the mega cities and all that. But, like, the fight in the apartment building is... Who do they fight? It's not Charlize Theron at the end. I think it's the chickadee who plays Cersei Lannister in Game of Thrones. She's the main antagonist. But it's basically just like one big, long battle of a movie where you got Dredd, who's like... he's kind of a co-star because he has like sort of a psychic deputy chick with him, which I'm not super big on the Dredd lore because I know there's comics and all that. But I would really like to see whatever the fuck the psychic stuff was expanded upon in a sequel. Because that movie was so action-y. It was just such... it was satisfying. It was very satisfying action. It was gross. It was high-tech. It was dark at points. And it just felt... How do I put this? It almost felt like watching... How do I put this? Almost like Metroid. Like, how Metroid, like, you go through, like, basically one map through various rooms doing all that stuff. Or even Castlevania was the same thing. It felt like that in a movie. Granted, there was a lot more story to it. There was a lot more, like, it wasn't an isometric view, obviously. But it's basically these two people, Dredd and his deputy chick that I can't remember, get trapped in this apartment building while they're going to try and kill Cersei Lannister, who's all the way at the top, and they have to fight their way through all the floors. And they're just kicking bad guy ass most of the time. Obviously, there's some back and forth, and they're not just, like, literally tearing through them like the friggin' Doomslayer. But it's really, really good. It is executed really, really well. There's even a little twist with some evil judges in there. And, man, just the fact it did not get a sequel just blows my mind. Now, I already said I'd like to see the psychic stuff expanded upon in a sequel, which would be cool, but I'd also like to see more of the Mega City. I think it was Mega City 1. I'd like to see more of that, a little bit more of the outside world, know a little more how it works, because, like I said, I'm not up and up on the Judge Dredd lore. But all I really know is that judges are the judge, jury, and executioner for criminals. There is zero tolerance for crime, but then there's also an overabundance of violent crime. It's kind of funny because it's like these guys are given all the authority, all the technology, all the gear in the world to thwart violent crime, and there's simply too much of it for these super cops to handle. It's kind of hilarious and dark at the same time. But yeah, I'd love to see like an expansion on, like, that's the other thing. Judge Dredd feels very much like the Doomslayer toned down. Like, I don't need extreme character development from him. Like, maybe a little bit of backstory, a little bit of exposition, maybe some flashbacks or something. I don't need extremely expanded lore on Dredd. But I would love to see him kicking more ass, and I would like to see more character development on the Psychic Girl side, because is she going to become just as cold and heartless and ruthless as Dredd is? It's curious, because she's definitely not. She's definitely more naive. She's definitely more like human than he is. So it would be interesting to see them not only balance her humanity and his lack thereof in another sequel, but see what direction she goes, because I don't think he can be softened. And I think that's perfectly fine. I would really like to see just, like, more of the world. I would like to know more about it without having to read the comics. Let's just put it that way. Now, kind of leaning into the comics thing, I was going to talk about Event Horizon, because that's honestly a fantastic sci-fi horror movie. And I recently found out there's a prequel to it, which kind of explains what happens to the original crew of the Event Horizon, which the more I thought about it, the less I liked, because all you know about the crew of the original ship is that they, like, lack of a better term, they, like, murder fuck each other to death. And you only get, like, a 10-15 second segment of this recording of what was happening, and it is some of the most horrifying shit ever. Like, I know there's a much longer extended version of that Paul W.S. Anderson had filmed for it, and some people were like, oh, that needs to be like a director's cut of it. I don't think I could honestly stomach an extended version of that scene. It was so fucking disturbing, and it may have also been partly because of just what you didn't see and what your mind filled in. But, I like, just even think about it now. That's horrifying. That is a horrifying moment in that horror movie. And the prequel, I felt like, I didn't read it, but just the concept of it, like, I hear there's, like, a demon thing. You see more about, like, the hellish realm that they go to when they activate the warp drive. I feel like it explains too much. There doesn't need to be, like, an actual demon. We already know what happens to the crew, so it's like following this group of people. It's like, why are we going to follow these people we know all factually are murder fucked to death? Why? Like, what's the point of that? I really like the ambiguity of what happened to it wasn't completely ambiguous, because, like I said, but the mystery of what happened to them, not fully seeing everything, not having the hellish dimension over-explained. So I don't think the prequel comics were necessary. I'm not going to read them, because if I'm going to have a prequel to a movie, I am not fucking reading it. I'm going to be watching it. But that being said, a sequel, I do not know where it could go, because it very much ends, I'd imagine, the way the prequel ends, because the ship gets pulled into this hellish dimension and disappears. At least part of the ship does. Like, the main character lady and I think 2 other people make it. They get picked up and rescued, but I can only imagine in the future the other part of the ship comes back empty again. So it would probably just be very much a rehash of the original movie, and that's just kind of a waste. And if it did too much, like what I suspect the prequel does, and explains too much, it wouldn't be as scary, it wouldn't be as effective, it wouldn't be as cosmically horrifying, and it would be saying too much. That's the only way I could put it. So originally I did talk about Event Horizon here, but I was going to talk about Event Horizon in more depth, but I actually don't think that one deserves a sequel. I don't think it needs the prequel either. It is a perfect standalone horror movie. Now, something I do think maybe doesn't deserve it, I would really like to see a sequel to. Actually, no, it does deserve it, because it was actually really, really good. Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. That movie, I have watched, oh my god, like 40 times? Like, not even joking. Because when I would live at my parents' house, I would always, like, wind down with bed. Like, I put on my little tiny box TV. I used to put on, like, the half-hour timer, and I'd watch movies a half hour at a time. Like, the TV would go off, I'd pause or turn off the DVD player, let it, and then, like, pick up right back up the same day, next day. Like, I watched that movie so much, I watched it with commentary, like, twice, which I think it's the only movie I've ever watched with commentary, just to, like, learn all the cool background stuff. But that, for me, was the definitive zombie experience of my childhood, teenage years. Fast zombies, gross zombies, a horrifying situation, fantastic practical effects. Is there any CGI in there? I don't even know. I don't think there's... no. The propane tank that blows up when they try to escape the mall and CJ shoots it. That is absolutely CGI fire. And I'm pretty sure the big crowd of zombies is also CGI at nighttime, but it's hard to tell because it's nighttime. But that movie has fantastic practical effects, which I think pays homage to the original Dawn of the Dead, which, I mean, I don't know if I can call myself like a horror fan here, but I don't really like the original that much. It's just very dated for what it is, and I mean, I was born in 95, so the movie predates me, and it seemed like it was low budget even for back then. So I don't know. To be honest, the Romero movies, I'm not that hot on. I think Land of the Dead is the best, and even that has some pretty shitty CGI. The story's a little funky. I mean, it's also extremely on the nose with its messaging, which, I mean, Romero's always had, like, the messaging in his movies, like Rich and the Poor, consumerism, this and that. But that one's just way too obvious. It is so unsubtle that it's, like, painful what it's trying to say. But it's like, come on, man. Like, a little bit of subtlety there. I know it's like sacrilege to talk about the Godfather of zombies like that, but I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of Romero's actual line of work. Survival of the Dead sucked. Ooh, Diary of the Dead sucked. Like, everything after Land of the Dead was shit. But Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead was so exhilarating. It was shot so well. It has one of the best opening sequences in a zombie movie ever. Just the way the little neighbor girl is walking down the hallway in their house, the way the husband gets bit, and when he transforms and goes absolutely feral. Oh, it is so tense. It is gripping. It is violent. It is a super graphic movie. But it's also got a really enjoyable cast of characters, I will say. It's like the cast swells and dips at different points. Different characters die and all that. And it leaves an ending that I still think is fairly ambiguous. Most people say everyone dies at the end, like in the post-credits thing. But you don't know that. You don't know that because they dropped the camcorder, and it's up to interpretation. But even so, even if the original cast dies, sure, whatever. I would love to see it advance the way Romero's did. Like, because Romero had night, dawn, then day, then Land of the Dead. So I would love to see Zack Snyder's take on Day of the Dead. I would love to see Zack Snyder have a of the Dead universe, and not including Army of the Dead. Absolute cheeks. Forget that. I mean, in the timeline of his 2000... What is that? What year is that? 2006? 2006, Dawn of the Dead? I would love to see it progress, like, along the Romero lines. I'd love to see what he could do outside of the Willamette Mall. Because... Is it the Willamette Mall? I'm thinking Dead Rising. I would just love to see where it goes. Because I think his style was perfect for that style of zombie. It came out... I think it came out around the time, or at least a few years after, 28 Days Later, which brought us the first running zombies. But I think in terms of how scary the running zombies actually are, they are scarier in Dawn of the Dead than they are in 28 Days Later. They are not as scary as 28 Weeks Later, because that one's a lot more visceral, graphic. I don't know. It's just like the quality of the film is obviously better, so you can more see the visceral nature of the virus, the rage virus. But man, I think a sequel to Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead would be an easy slam dunk for whoever wanted to pick it up. I know he's kind of in the shitter recently, like with stuff he's making, like the Rebel Moon movies. I haven't seen. All I've seen is people shit all over him constantly. Army of the Dead, I thought was cheeks. I think they made a prequel to that too. I did not watch that, but yeah, I just don't think he's in the best position right now. But if he went back and announced that, I think people would be so hyped to basically go back to the early 2000s in their mind and just go from there. I really think people would like to go back to a better time in cinema, because I don't know, last decade's been pretty awful. all things considered. There's not a lot of great stuff out there. But, yeah, I think that's really all I can say here. I chewed up a lot of time on this one, but I think it's more than twice the last one. I'm curious. I don't know how many movies you guys like to watch. I like to watch a lot of movies. There's a huge variety of movies I like to watch, too. Like, I just recently watched The Void. Fantastic. Disturbing as shit, but that's an awesome cosmic horror movie. Not exactly. It's kind of a Dead Space movie, I would say, but a little more, not low stakes, but localized. Let's put it that way. The Void. Excellent. Check it out. I don't know how many movies you guys watch. I watch a lot, but I'm curious, are there any movies you guys have watched that you're like, how is there not a sequel to this? Especially if it's like left on a cliffhanger and you think it was really good, or just something you could see easily expanded upon. I would love to know what you guys think. So, I mean, these are my picks. I'm sure I could come up with other ones if I like look through a list. I really wish, this is stupid, I wish there was a way to like go through my brain and be like, oh yeah, I watched this and this and this and this and this, and then I could come up with a list super easy. But actively just trying to think of movies that I think were like awesome that need a sequel, it's a little hard. So I just stuck with 3. I'd love to know what you guys think. Like, do you agree with my picks? For one, do you even know the movies I'm talking about? I guess is another question, because this isn't a movie channel. This is a gaming channel, but I have a variety of artistic interests. Yeah, let me know. Let me know if you think my picks were good. Let me know what movies you think deserve sequels. I'd love to thank Zanetor, my loyal Patreon patron from over there across the pond. He has been stellar in his support of me every single month for a little bit of George Washington headed my way. And I really think you should join him if you like either what I do here, my regular content, because in case you didn't know, I put out a Doodle Chat every Saturday. I've got a regular video Doodle Chat every Friday, regular video every Sunday, then I got a short Monday, Tuesday, and when I'm not actively moving into a new house, I have streams Fridays and Saturday nights. Helldivers, Fallout, whatever. But thank you guys very much for watching. You've all been awesome, amazing, and beautiful. Never forget that. And I guess until not next week, until Sunday, I will see you later.